There is a front page story in this morning's Washington Post that says that Bill Clinton made $18 million for being the honorary chairman of a for-profit college that was led by a man that Hillary wanted seated front and center at a State Department lunch. It's just another example of what has people's eyebrows raised about connections between the foundation and money that the Clintons made and the State Department, but she's still defending her tenure.
Everything I did at the State Department, I did in furtherance of America's interests and our security. The State Department has said there's absolutely no evidence of any kind of external influence.
Rich Lowry is editor of the National Review and a Fox News contributor, and David Goodfriend is a former deputy staff secretary to President Bill Clinton and a Hillary Clinton campaign supporter. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you all here.
Thank you.
You know, we've seen this issue just keeps bubbling up, right? So reporters keep digging into it and finding more stuff. But to make $18 million as an honorary chair of a for-profit college is a pretty nice piece of change, David, no matter how you look at it. And to have that person highlighted in an email from Hillary Clinton saying, yes, this is a friend of Bill's. Please make sure he gets a very good seat at this State Department function. It just, you know, it doesn't look good.
It is a lot of money. It's about less than 1% of what Donald Trump has made over the last couple of years. So I hope maybe the Clintons someday can match
businesses that were private industries that weren't government-paid positions, I would add.
And the, well, Bill Clinton,
those are not even apples and apples, David, so I have to say.
May I finish the answer to your question, Martha?
Yeah, but I mean, you're starting with a premise that doesn't make sense, but go ahead.
Here's the thing. As with the Associated Press story, this story runs pretty much the same narrative. Oh my gosh, there was a connection. And then you read the third paragraph, and there's no connection because apparently what Hillary Clinton said to her aides was, this person is a friend of Bill's. That is true. This person, I guess, was somebody that she had seated. Okay. Was there a decision made in that person's favor? There's nothing in the story. But I will tell you this. The pattern is holding. We're going to see this throughout the fall, so we should just get used to it. At about the same time this story comes out, we find out that Donald Trump had to pay a fine to the IRS for allegedly paying a bribe to someone who was investigating his school down in Florida, the Attorney General of Florida. There you have two stories, and I'm going to predict for you now. The first one that you mentioned peters out just like the AP story did. The second one, we find out here's why Donald Trump is not releasing his taxes. This is going to become the narrative. Donald Trump is not releasing his taxes because of hiding stuff like this. He apparently had to pay this fine to the IRS because he illegally gave a contribution through his charity to the Attorney General of Florida.
Let's hear what Rich thinks about that comparison. What do you think, Rich?
If there are any for-profit colleges watching this segment, I am available to be an honorary chairman. That sounds like the best job in the world. Right? But look, it's Martha, it's all part of the same stew where that just getting access to these high-level meetings and conferences and whatever else they were is priceless to these sort of people. And all the Clinton speaking fees, the Clinton consulting money, all of it is caught up in the foundation and Hillary Clinton's status as Secretary of State and status perhaps as the future President of the United States. It's impossible to disentangle it. And we've seen email after email, and I assume we'll continue to see all the way to November, where the Clinton Foundation had direct access to Hillary Clinton's right hand at the Secretary of State and the person of Huma Abedin. And if you don't think that was wildly inappropriate, you need to go back, take Ethics 101, and pay really close attention.
Well, the tax, releasing the tax returns for Donald Trump, it remains an issue, and he's going to be asked about it. So it's up to the American people who are going to vote in 62 days, and some of them much sooner than that, to decide, you know, which ethical issues they think carry more weight, and that's what they're going to do. I want to get your take on another issue here. Smashed blackberries with hammers, David, and bleach bit seems like a pretty dramatic way to get rid of stuff that is unconsequential.
Yeah, I admit to cringing when I read that myself in the press. But as a lawyer, I will tell you, go back to the old days when there were no computers. If you had to produce documents, you were allowed to make copies of those documents, produce them to the other side or to the court, and then whatever you did with the filing cabinet really didn't matter. And the analogy holds here today. The document production occurred, certification occurred, tens of thousands of documents produced, and as you say, we're still hearing about them every day, more emails. I think hitting your BlackBerry with a hammer is a little bit weird, but it's certainly not illegal, and it's not out of character for somebody who produces a document to then get rid of the filing cabinet.
All right. So we got this information, and we were requesting this in a serious way, as were many journalistic institutions, that we wanted to see the notes from what happened when the FBI interviewed Hillary Clinton. And what we found were some very interesting things, including this hammer into the BlackBerry to destroy it, but also that, you know, as many as 40 times in that really not very long interview, Hillary Clinton said she didn't know, she didn't recall, she couldn't answer.
Right.
Rich, how relevant is that?
It's very relevant. I mean, the idea that she didn't know what the C was to mark these documents and that she thought it was just alphabetizing paragraphs when there was no A or B or D makes zero sense. And the irony of what Hillary has done in her resistance to producing her records as Secretary of State is that now they're slowly dripping out in the midst of a hard-fought general election battle. And this is one reason that she's been slumping, and even the CNN poll falling behind Donald Trump, is because this story is so corrosive of her honesty and trustworthiness, and it apparently is never going to end.
David?
Well, the poll that my friend refers to also included 2 independent candidates for president who will not be appearing on the ballot. When you rerun polls asking who do you want as your president, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, those are your only 2 choices. Hillary Clinton maintains about the same lead that Barack Obama did over John McCain in 2008 at this point in the election.
It's been tightening up.
I'm sorry, let me just finish. Oh, absolutely, it's been tightening up, and you will not hear me push back on that. I mean, Donald Trump's self-inflicted wounds criticizing a Gold Star family after the convention were his own, and he has to own up to that. I mean, that's why we had a great convention, but let's face it, Donald Trump only helped extend Hillary Clinton's bounce both in size and in length. And now, you're right, it's the fall, the polls are back to sort of stasis post-convention, but I still think if we look at the electoral map, Donald Trump is in a terrible hole right now, and Larry Sabato from University of Virginia, who you have on Fox News often, has pointed out that if the election were held today, Hillary would win over 300 electoral votes in a landslide. So we have to see some sort of major shift. These national polls are a little bit elusive. You have to look at the electoral map. We have to see a major shift. But
when the national polls tighten, the states begin to look different. I mean, that's how it works. And
so
she is absolutely radioactive and getting more radioactive by the day.
One swing state, my friend, where Donald Trump has.
I'm glad we're such good friends.
Thanks, you guys. I gotta go. Thank you very much. And I think we're all really anxious to see a new round of swing state polls, because that's going to be the next sort of interesting data point in all of this, with 62 days to go. David, thank you for being here. Rich, thank you for being here.